Jai Hind, and welcome you all in this series of the object-oriented programming with Java. Viewers, I am Sudhakar Dwivedi, Assistant Professor in Information Technology Department, and today we will together explore one of the very important topic in the Java that is related to the exception and error. So we will look today what is error, what is exception, why we need to handle these types of the errors and exceptions. Can we handle the errors? Can we handle the exceptions? And what is the mechanisms available in the Java through which we can handle all these types of the exceptions? So in this session, we will first explore what is the impact of the exception and what is the exception itself, and how we can manage all these types of exception in the programs. So first, we will look in the unit 2. It is related to the unit 2 in the AKTU syllabus, and in this unit we will first see what is the exception handling. So all the types of the exceptions, what is the exceptions and errors, types of the exceptions, control flow in the exceptions, and what is the JVM, Java Virtual Machine reactions to all the exceptions, and use of all these keywords that try, catch, finally, throws in the exception handling. What is the inbuilt user-defined exceptions, what is checked, what is unchecked exceptions. So all these types of exceptions we will study in this session. So first of all, we should know what is exception actually. So we know when we have write the programs, then we compile, and then finally we will execute the programs. But what is exception actually? So exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the programs. That means when the program is executing normally and some conditions arises through which the programs crashes, terminates, or produce some incorrect output. That means it just breaks or the crash the normal flow of the programs. So we can just define the exception is an event, or exception is a condition that can disrupt the normal flow of the program. So an exception is a problem itself. Exception is a problem that arises during the execution of the programs, and just can terminate the programs or just can break the normal flow of execution, as I have said. And this condition may arises because of some reason. So we can say that the exception is a condition that causes some errors in the programs that disrupts the normal flow of the execution of the program. For example, if we are writing a programs and we are calculating something, we are just having some arithmetic calculations, and its arithmetic expressions, we have to divide some numbers with the 0. So we know in arithmetic the division by 0 is not defined. So it may cause the errors or error condition. So exception is a condition that I have said, the exception is a condition that causes some error in the programs. So division by 0, it creates a condition that causes some error in the programs. If we want to access an array that is beyond the index, that may also cause an error in the programs. If we are trying to access the file, that file is not exist in the programs, that may also cause a condition that caused me some error, right? So exception, we can define the exception is a condition that causes some errors. So what is error? So error and exception both are different. So error is just a wrongs that we are doing in the programs, and that's why the program may go wrong. That means if we have written something that is not according to the grammar of the programs, so that may correct some error. But exception is a condition itself that causes some error. And in Java, we can handle the exception. That means we can prevent those conditions if we have pre-assumed that conditions that in this code of the section, this condition may arises. So we can handle these types of the situations, so that if this situation will not arise in the program execution, so the exception can be managed, right? So exception is a condition that may cause some error. That means if we handle by any means of these situations, we can just manage the normal flow of execution of the programs. That means if the exception is handled properly, if we have some mechanisms to handle these exceptions properly, the normal flow of the execution can be maintained. And in Java, we have a lot of mechanisms to handle these types of exceptions that we will study one by one in this session. And for managing these types of error, Java just throws an error object when such abnormal situation occurs. That means whenever we are going to execute a programs and any situations that is abnormal condition that I have said, that means whenever some exceptions arises, so Java throws an error object, and we can just catch that object and manage the exceptions, right? So we will talk about the exceptions broadly. So it can be classified into two categories basically. One is checked exception and another is unchecked exception, that we will discuss in detail in the subsequent sections. So why we need exception handling? That means whenever this condition arises, so we need to handle them. If we will not able to handle all these types of the exceptions, so that may cause error in the program, and then program will not successfully executed. That means it will not provide us a valid result. So we need to handle these types of the exceptions. So as we can say that whenever a program have some situations that may cause some errors that may affect the normal flow of the execution of the programs, so what we should do? We should manage all these types of the conditions if we know that these section of the codes may cause some errors. Because if we have some mistakes in the programs that may cause the errors, so it may produce some unexpected results. An error may produce an incorrect output also, or it may terminate the execution of the program abruptly. That may cause system also to crash. And it is therefore important to detect and manage all types of the error conditions properly in the program, so that the program will not terminate or crash during the execution of the program. That means the program should maintain its normal flow of the execution. So exception handling, it's just a programming concept that allows us to manage all types of the errors and unexpected events during the program's execution, preventing the crashes and maintaining the program's normal flow. Why we need this type of the exception handling? To maintain the normal flow of the execution. That means if something goes wrong in the programs, that means if we handle all the types of the exception, whatever the reason through which the program is goes to terminate or to crash the normal flow of the execution. So if we have some mechanism to handle all these types of the exception, it will handle and it can maintain the normal flow of the execution. For example, if there is a section of code like dividing by 0, missing files, wrong input, all these can cause some problems in the program that I have said. And if we have some mechanisms to fix all these things, so we can handle all these types of the problems so that the normal flow of execution can be maintained. So exception handling, why exception handling? So because we can manage all these types of the situations. Exception handling also allows the programmers to continue the execution after handling all the types of the error. It improves the program security and stability. As I have said, the exception, and I have said the exception is a condition that may cause errors, and that can just break the normal flow of the program, normal flow of the execution of the program. But what is error actually? So error, I have said the errors is the wrongs or the mistakes that we have done during the writing of the programs. And these errors may broadly be categorized into two parts. One is compile time error and another one is runtime error. So what is compile time error? That means if we have written some programs and we have done some wrongs in the typing of the programs, that we have not written the programs as per the grammar of that particular programming language. So that may cause error. That means whenever this types of the situation arises, the program will not successfully compile because we have not written the program according to the grammar, according to the syntax, according to the rules of the programming language. And this type of occurs during the compilation process. So whenever we are going to compile this type of the program, it will generate error because we have written something that is not according to the language syntax, and it will just prevent the successful compilation. That means until we will not remove all the types of compile time, all these types of errors, the programs will not compile successfully. That means an error that is arises during the compile time can be considered as compile time error. So what is runtime error? So in some cases the programs compile successfully, but it is not executed because of some wrong logic, and this situation arises at the runtime. That means whenever the program is compiled successfully and whenever we are going to execute these programs and we have not written the logic parts in the programs correctly, so it will create errors. That means unexpected results will provided to the user or the programmer. So these types of error can be considered as the runtime errors, and this type of errors occurs during the execution of the programs after the successful compilation, and this causes an unexpected behavior. The programs may also crash. So what we can do? Can we handle all these types of situation? Can we manage the normal flow of execution? We will explore. So I've said the compile time errors, and we can see here. So compile time errors. So what compile time errors? So compile time errors can arise whenever we have not declared the variables before using it. So whenever we are going to use some variables, but we have not declared it, that means undeclared variables may cause the compile time errors, right? If we have missed some brackets, if we want to define a function and we have missed some brackets, suppose I have created a function and I have just opened this, but I have not closed this, so it may cause error. I have written some statement, suppose I have created a variable, but I have not written the semicolon here. If we have missed this semicolon, it may cause some errors. So missing semicolons may also cause some errors in the programs. If there is some incompatible assignments, if there is bad object references, so all these types of situations may arise during the compile time. So that means until we have not corrected all these types of the errors, the program will not successfully compile. So compile time errors, also known as the compilation error, and are detected by the Java compiler during the compilation phase of the programs. And as I have said, these errors prevent the source code from being successfully translated into the bytecode. That means the programs will not successfully compile until all the compilation time errors are removed. That means if we are talking about in the case of the Java programs, it will not create the .class file. That means when the program is successfully compiled, it will create a .class file, and if there is some errors at the compilation time, it will not create the .class file. The program cannot be executed until all the compilation times error is removed. So first we need to remove all the types of the compilation time errors. Suppose this example. So we have created a programs where we have forgotten to write semicolon here. So it will create errors. And if we try to execute these programs or compile these programs, so while compiling these programs, that is calculate.java, this type of error will arises. So what the error? In the calculate.java, what the error is? This semicolon is expected here. This semicolon is expected here. That means it will create one error here. That means program is not compiled at this time because it had generated one compilation time errors. So until we will not remove this type of the error, this program will not compile. So first we need to remove all these types of the compilation errors. So what is runtime error? Suppose the program is successfully compiled. Suppose this program is successfully compiled, but here is some logic that is not valid. Suppose we have said the division by 0 is not valid arithmetically. So we have written this logic. So this is not valid. So this may generate a logical error. This will not create, there is no syntax error here, because this statement is correct according to the syntax of the programming language, but logically it is incorrect. So it will generate some logical errors. That means program will successfully compile, but it will not successfully execute, right? So what is runtime errors? So runtime errors may be dividing an integer by 0, or accessing an element that is out of bounds of an array, right? Suppose there is some array, an array has only 5 elements, and we want to access A7. Suppose this array is A and have 5 elements, and we want to access A7. So only 5 elements. How we can access the 7th element? How we can access the element at this index? It is not possible. So whenever we want to access an element that is out of bounds of an array, so it may cause the problem in the programs. If we are trying to convert an invalid string to the numbers, if we are trying to store a value into an array of incompatible class or type, so all these types of situations that may cause some errors at the time of the execution, that is considered as runtime errors. So what happens? Sometimes a program may compile successfully, also create the .class file, but may not execute properly. Why? Because there is some logic in the programming code that is not valid, that is logically incorrect. So they may produce the wrong results or may terminate abruptly. That means program may terminate, or it may create some wrong results. And because these errors may occur due to the wrong logic of the programs, these cannot be checked at the time of the compilation. It will be compiled successfully, and it may catch up at the time of the execution of the programs. So such programs may produce wrong result due to the wrong logic, or may terminate due to the errors. So these types of errors are the runtime errors. So what is the runtime errors? It may arise due to the division by 0, attempting to divide an integer by 0. That means if we are trying to divide a number by 0, that is logically incorrect. If we want to access an element that is out of bounds of the array, as I have said, if we want to convert or assign incompatible types, incompatible array storage, so all these may cause to runtime errors. So if we see this type of the programs, what we are trying to do, we have called a function and we have passed two values. The first value is 5 and second value is 0. So 5 comes here and 0 comes here, 5 division by 0. It is not possible. So the compiler will not display any error message here because there is no compilation here. There is no compilation here. So compiler will not display any error message because there is no compilation error. The programs is correct according to the syntax, according to the grammar of the programming language, but it is logically incorrect. So when the program is compiled, it will not display any type of error because as per the compiler, there is no error. The error in the logical part. So what will happen? So if you see here, the program is successfully compiled, but it is not executed. So what will happen? When we try to run or execute this program, then it will display the error condition. It will display only the error condition. See here, what happens? So whenever we want to execute these programs, this Java, this class runner, so what happens? What is displayed here? Exception in the thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception, that is division by 0. This is the main thread, main flow of the execution. So whatever we are doing here, we are trying to divide an integer by 0. We are trying to division by 0. And that comes under the arithmetic exception. It is exception because it is a condition. It is a condition that causes error in the programs. What is the condition? Condition is division by 0. And this comes under the arithmetic exception. That is the inbuilt exception that we will discuss in the subsequent sections, right? So we can understand here runtime errors or exceptions. So compiler will not display any error message. The program is successfully compiled, .class file is generated, but it will not execute it because the wrong logic in the programs. So what we can do? Suppose there is some lines after this line. That means whenever this line will execute, the programs will terminate here by showing this message. That means we are trying to execute this line, division by 0. But as per logic, division by 0 is not possible. So what will happen? Program will terminate by showing this message. So what we want to do, if we manage this situation anyhow, this division by 0 or any type of the exception condition. Here is the exceptional condition is arithmetic exception. That means somehow if we manage these type of situations, so the rest of the programs may execute because whatever lines is written after this line will not execute because the program terminate here, right? So what we can do? We can just have to manage all these sections that may cause exceptions in the programs. That we need to discuss in this section. So what is the exception? Exception is a condition that is caused by runtime errors in the programs. So exception is a condition that is caused by runtime error in the programs. There is a runtime error due to the wrong logic, and due to the wrong logic there is some conditions arises through which the programs terminates or breaks the normal flow of the execution. So we can say it's just a condition. Exception is a condition that is caused by runtime error, and we need to prevent or we need to handle all these types of conditions so that programs can execute successfully. That means an exception is an event that occurs during the execution of programs, and that may disrupt the normal flow of execution of programs. That means whenever the Java interpreter executes the programs, and it may have such types of the runtime. If we encounter such type of the runtime errors, it may just breaks the execution. It may just terminate the flow of the execution. That means whenever the Java interpreter encounters such type of situations, for example, this type of division by 0, it creates an exception object and throw it. Means whenever this type of situation arises, interpreter just create an object and throw it. That means it informs that error has occurred. As we can see here, it just informs that this type of errors occurs, right? And if we handle these types of situation, then normal flow of execution can be maintained. If the exception object is not, whatever the exception object is created here, so what I have said, as interpreter encounters this type of the situation, it creates an exceptional object. That means exception object. And if this exception object is not caught and handled properly, the interpreter will display an error message and will terminate the programs. That means as soon as this type of situation arises, we need to handle it properly. So we need to have some mechanism so that we can handle all these types of the exceptions. That's why we require the exception handling mechanism. That means if we want the program to continue with the execution of the remaining code, we should try to catch all these types of the exception object that is created by the interpreter. And this task is known as the exception handling. And the main focus, the main purpose of the exception handling mechanism is to provide a means, is to provide a way to detect and report an exceptional circumstances. So whatever the exceptional circumstances, whatever the situations that may cause some runtime errors, the purpose of the exception handling mechanism that we are going to discuss in the subsequent sections is to provide a way, to provide a means to detect and report all these circumstances so that appropriate action can be taken. And all these things we can manage by using these 5 keywords, that is try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. That means exception handling can be done by using all these keywords. And this mechanism suggests incorporation of the separate error handling code. So how we can handle all these types of error? So exception handling mechanism provides incorporation of some codes, some separate error handling code through which we can handle, we can manage all these types of exceptions. So if we know that this section of the code may or might create some errors, so that code may be included in some error handling code through which we can manage all these types of the exceptional circumstances. So what we will do? First we find the problem, that means hit the exception. Then inform that error has occurred. So first of all we need to hit the exception, we need to find the problems in the code, then we need to inform that error has occurred. That means first of all we need to find the exception, then inform, that means throw the exception. And once the exception is thrown, we will need to manage it, we will need to catch all the exceptions. That means we need to receive the error information. So exception is created, then it is informed that exception has created, then we have received this type of information, and then finally need to take the corrective action, that means handle the exception. So there is a 4 process. What the process is? Hit the exception, that means find the code that have some problem, then just inform that this may code can or might create some errors, then error message will received, and then we need to take a corrective action. So all these process, hit the exception, that means identify the error condition during the program execution. So we need to examine the programs and we need to have knowledge about the section of the code that may create the conditions that can create the exception. Then throw the exception, that means just inform the occurrence of an error to the system and that part of the code. Then catch the exception, that means just receive or intercept the error signals for the further corrective action. And then finally we need to handle, that means we need to take the measures to resolve from the errors, we need to take the corrective actions once we have received the information about the exceptional circumstances. So what are the steps to handle these types of the exceptions? So as I have said, we need to incorporate some separate error handling code through which we can handle all these types of the exceptional circumstances. And the error handling code basically consists of 2 segments. We can see here this error handling code that we are talking about, that we need to incorporate in the programming code. may contain two segments. One is for detecting the error and throw the exceptions, and other to catch the exception and to take the appropriate actions. So as we have discussed, it may have four type of the sections. So we can see all the error handling mechanisms can be divided into two sections. Thank you so much for today's sessions. We will discuss all the details in the next coming sections. Thank you so much.